This is Michael Popok for the new Legal AF MTN channel. Just take a moment and free subscribe. Now listen, there's a strategy of Donald Trump that's been hiding in plain sight. Let me piece this all together and connect all of the dots. Donald Trump and Maga have a sleeper cell of people in various offices, election workers, election officials, lawyers, and judges waiting, along with MAGA Congress, to do on November 5th, the night of November 5th, the morning of November 6th, what they did 4 years ago. But this time, it's going to be exponentially worse, and we got to be prepared for it. Let's talk about it. They've already undermined the integrity of the voting system before it's even begun. And that will allow Donald Trump to announce that whether he's attacking mail-in voting, absentee voting, drop box voting, whatever's allowed in each state, voter registration in battleground states, he is not going to accept the outcome of the election. He says he won't accept the outcome of the election. His number 2, J.D. Vance, says he's not going to accept the outcome of the election. Hell, they don't even accept the outcome of the election 4 years ago. But this one's different. 4 years ago, they were caught flat-footed. And so they didn't have the lawsuits ready. They had Rudy Giuliani running things. They didn't have their election-denying officials as now running state election boards, local election offices, election workers in precincts. They didn't have vote monitors or election day monitors in each precinct. They weren't there objecting to the count until it was too late. They didn't have their lawsuits prepared in advance. They weren't ready to go and find different MAGA judges to accept motions for injunctions to try to stop the count and the certification. But they do now. Ever since 2020, while Democrats have been working to preserve democracy, the Republicans and GOP and MAGA have been working to undermine democracy and rip away and destroy your right to vote. So here's the sleeper cell that will be activated on the night of November 4th. I'll give it to you in some steps. 1, Donald Trump will not accept the results of the election, and if he's ahead in the popular vote and or in the that day election results, he'll declare that he is the winner. Unfortunately, he's not in the White House, but he'll declare it in some sort of shadow or exile government outside the White House. And then they will, as the vote counting continues, for the mail-in, for the early voting, for the absentee voting, for the military voting, they will then activate their election workers, election monitors, election observers, election boards in the battleground states, now controlled in certain circumstances by MAGA. Not everywhere, but many places. Georgia, a perfect example. While we were working hard for democracy, they were working hard to get an election board dominated by MAGA and by Donald Trump and in control. So you'll have the election boards slow down or not recognize the certification. You'll have lawsuits over the certification slowdown. The network news won't be able to announce the winner. There won't be a certified winner for days on end as Donald Trump then launches all the lawsuits that are already drafted. I assure you that Donald Trump's team, run by the Federalist Society and Leonard Leo on one hand and Elon Musk on the other, and all the lawyers around them, they already have these lawsuits ready to go. They're about 90% drafted. I'm sure there's at least 7 lawsuits filed, ready to go, prepared in 7 battleground states, ready to file the night of. Okay? So they're going to do that. Then you're going to have the canvassing boards stand up and say, we think there's irregularities. We think that there's fraud in the election. We think there's been overcounting or there's undercounting related to Donald Trump. We think this precinct is corrupt. We think somebody didn't use the optical reader properly. Whatever it is, they will then slow down the count and somebody will take one of these lawsuits and run into court. While Donald Trump continues to declare that he's the winner, that he's setting up a cabinet, and he'll set up a shadow government. He'll hold a press conference with lots of flags behind him, and he'll roll out some sort of cabinet that he's already picked. Some attorney general, Lord knows who that is, Jeff Clark, Alina Habba, Rudy Giuliani, somebody like that. He'll have his entire cabinet in back of him. He'll have everybody handpicked for the government by way of the Federalist Society. Federalist Society, let's be frank, Donald Trump has outsourced his entire future administration to Leonard Leo, the Federalist Society, and the Heritage Society, and everything under that. Heritage Society isn't even really a thing. It's just a cover. It's just a veneer to cover dozens and dozens and dozens of right-wing MAGA QAnon-related organizations. The cover is the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025. So they will implement all that. But once they try to claim that, then it's going to be up to Kamala Harris, if she actually wins the election, to reassure people that the election had integrity, that the vote count was proper, that there was no outcome determinative fraud. But when you have right now, the current Speaker of the House already saying that there is illegal immigrants voting, which is a lie, that there are unregistered people voting, which is a lie, that people are being double counted in their vote in early voting, which is a lie. Why are they doing that? Because that sets the foundation. That's step one, or 1A. Step one was, before the election, say that all the rules around the country that MAGA hasn't already jerked around with can't be relied upon in terms of the outcome of the voting. We use terms like voter suppression, but let me just tell it the way it is. Donald Trump and MAGA want to rip away and rip up your right to vote and not have it counted. They don't want every vote counted. They don't want any of your votes counted. The only way they can win a general election is if they scare the crap out of their base, which they're doing every day by telling them there's a person of transgender orientation under their bed trying to get their children, or gay, or black, or Haitian, or, oh my God, all three or four. And that is the social issue, the cultural war that they're set about to put Americans at each other's throats and win the election. But on the legal side, because we're here at the intersection of law and politics, the reason you're hearing, this is my Popok translate, the reason you're hearing MAGA congresspeople already casting doubt and casting shade on the election is because it's a cover, it's a smokescreen for all the other things they're doing. Then they push that button in the sleeper cell, the Georgia election board, the election boards in different counties controlled now by MAGA, the election workers, the monitors that are now in there, who will object to the count, who will drive all the election workers and all of the clerks in the various counties completely crazy, and the Secretary of States of those states crazy. And what they'll use is a fringe constitutional doctrine that's been rejected by the United States Supreme Court, which is the independent state legislature doctrine, the ISL, to say that state houses, not secretaries of state, not the heads of county election offices, not governors. It's the state house legislators, the state senators, the state house members that are in control of elections and certifications of elections at the federal level, and that's it. And everybody else can be ignored and should be ignored. And so if you have a governor you don't like if you're MAGA, if you have a secretary of state you don't like if you're MAGA, if you've got a head of elections you don't like if you're MAGA, it's okay. As long as you like your state house, the state house will decide. I mean, that's what MAGA wants. They want the state house to pick the president. They wanted that in 2020. The whole scheme of trying to throw sand in the gears of the transition of power was around these phony fake elector certificates that they wanted Mike Pence to recognize as real or competing, and then say, well, I've got one slate for Biden and one slate for Trump. What do? Let's turn it over to the states. And the states are dominated. If you just do state by state, not popular vote, not electoral vote, just state by state, Republicans control more state houses than the Democrats. And so just a one-on-one, not proportional, not based on state size, not based on electoral count, and not based on popular vote. Your vote doesn't count in this. It's just the vote. All right, Alabama, Trump. Right? You can see where Arkansas, Trump. North Carolina, Trump. And so on and so on. Georgia, Trump. Florida, Trump. You know that map that we see election night? That's just a lot of red, but somehow the Democrat pulls it out because of the Electoral College concentrates a lot of power in large urban areas and urban dominated states. That's how Democrats win. We don't win based on the color of the map. If the color of the map decided our elections, we would never win, the Democrats. And so, but that color of that map that would be the result. Because state houses, there's 23 or 24 Republican-dominated state houses, right? And there's less Democrat. And so the winner is the Republican. And that's what they wanted. But they got caught, and Mike Pence wouldn't play along. But now we're watching it in plain sight, right? We're watching it's like we showed up at the bank, and we're sitting in the car, eating our donuts. I feel like Sipowicz on NYPD Blue. Got a carton of Marlboro, box of Krispy Kremes, or Tim Hortons, whatever you want to call it. And I'm sitting there, and we're just watching the bank heist, right? We're like, that's fascinating. Yeah, we're watching it right now, but there's something to do about it. One, you're here, Legal AF MTN. Got that part. Subscribe. Two, the Democrats and Kamala Harris has to be ready for the counterpunch. Because if she wins the popular vote, or more importantly, if she wins the electoral vote, and all these 10 lawsuits get filed because they're ready right now, as I've outlined at the top of this hot take, and election boards are dominated by these Republicans, they got to be ready to go to federal court and find the right federal judges and file in the right places and take a page out of Mitch McConnell's and Leonard Leo's Federalist Society book, right? Start bringing, I mean, this is going to be a little bit of an awkward metaphor, but start bringing a gun to a gunfight and not a knife to a gunfight. And Democrats have got to stop wringing their hands and get ready. Now, I've worked with Democratic lawyers for whoever the candidate was at the time, Obama, Clinton. I've done it for, and of course, I'll do it for Kamala Harris. We got to be ready. These lawsuits are ready. These election workers and election monitors are ready. Roger Stone, who just said out loud, the quiet part, a day or so ago, so we should have, they said, Maga should have armed guards in the blue states because they want to suppress the vote. Suppressing the vote means ripping up your vote and throwing it in the trash. Is that okay with you? Because that's what this means. And so I got to call it out because it's been so obvious. I've been watching this heist, in this bank robbery in plain sight, and I got to call somebody, and it's you here in our audience. What can we do? Kamala Harris's team got to be ready. The lawyers for Kamala Harris's team got to be ready. They got to have the best and brightest election lawyers ready to go. They got to pick the right federal courts. There better be, and I hope, and we do have a connection with people that are around Kamala Harris. They watch our show, so listen up. There should be a second war room at the intersection of law and politics. I'm happy. I'll volunteer to work on it. I'll spearhead it. It should be ready to go at the starting line, shoulder to shoulder with the campaign, ready to run into court, even preemptively if it's necessary. Okay? And work its way through the court system. Sure, the United States Supreme Court is the brick wall at the end of that process. But we got to protect our democracy and our constitutional republic and our rule of law. The other side is not playing by the rules. We have to be more aggressive as a party, as lawyers for the party, to protect the integrity of our democracy. I'm going to continue to do it and not just talk about it. I talk the talk, I walk the walk. You know what they say? BS walks and money talks, or at least my energy talks. And I'm certainly throwing my lot in with the lawyers around Kamala Harris to make sure that we're as prepared to counterpunch as Donald Trump is to take the offensive with his lawyers and his band of crazies. And you want to know more? Come right here, Legal AF MTN. We're at the intersection of law and politics. I'm curating this channel in collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, and I'm bringing it to you right here 5, 6, 8 times a day with other moderators and other content makers and groups like Court Accountability. Right here, Legal AF MTN. Thank you for being here. Till my next hot take, until my next reporting, I'm Michael Popok, and I am reporting. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.